You've spent hours writing new words in your language notebook. You have pages and pages of them. Nouns, verbs, adjectives, all in neat little columns. But then you try to speak, you get into a weird conversation, and boom, your mind just goes blank and the words just disappear. So you've been looking around for this right way to do it, yet you haven't found anything that works for you. You're in the right place. I was just like you, trying to memorize some new random words out of any context, just to realize later that whatever this method was, it was ineffective at all. Thus, I've been looking around and searching every corner of the internet, hoping to find that method which could helpfully solve my problem. So I decided to incorporate that phrase notebook method into my language learning, but again, I couldn't find a helpful guide for this thing either, so I had to learn how to do it on my own and come here to make this video for you all so that you don't have to go through all the struggle, my dear. Then you just need to start learning. In today's video, I am breaking down for you the best method to learn vocabulary in context using a phrase notebook with real examples from my Italian learning journey. So let's dive in. Why your old methods don't work. So where does it all go wrong? The problem isn't the lists themselves or the notebooks. It's the method we were all taught, trying to force our minds to memorize these lists, which consists of isolated words that have no context at all. But this method is pretty much designed to fail. Why? Because single words don't have much power on their own. Look at this example. They say, think of it like this. Learning from a word list is like getting a giant box of Legos. You have all the pieces, but you have no clue how they actually connect to build anything. You just have a pile of plastic. So when you need to say something in a conversation, you're scrambling through that pile for one tiny red brick, when what you really need is a pre-built part like a wheel or car door. Our brains aren't wired to build sentences one word at a time under pressure. We think and speak in chunks, groups of words that just go together. It's why you can hear a phrase in your own language and get it instantly, without thinking about each word. Your brain hears it as one single unit of meaning. The traditional vocabulary list completely ignores this. It forces you to do the impossible job of building a whole sentence from scratch, brick by brick, right in the middle of conversation. That's why you freeze. Your brain is trying to do heavy construction work in seconds instead of just grabbing a ready-made piece. The words you learned are stuck in your passive vocabulary because you never learned them in a way that makes them active and usable. The fix, the Phrasebook Method. So how do we fix this? We stop collecting single Lego bricks and start collecting pre-built sections. We switch from vocabulary list to a phrase notebook. This is the biggest change you can make in your learning. Phrase notebook is exactly what it sounds like. Instead of writing down isolated words like apple is Mila, you write down phrases or sentences where the word is actually used. This way you start learning words in context the way native speakers really use them. Think of it as your personal dictionary of real life language. You might hear someone say je suis crevé in the movie, and instead of just writing down exhausted is crevé, which isn't really the literal meaning of the word, you jot down the full phrase. That's the magic. You are learning how the word functions in a sentence. Disclaimer. I know this sounds too simple to have a whole video explaining it, but trust me, I had no idea how to do it at the beginning. I watched a few videos on the internet saying things like you have to learn words in context and some suggesting the phrase notebook. They may have had explained a little bit, but I didn't catch that explanation, and I needed the whole video dedicated to teach me how to use it, but I found nothing specific. So now I am here making it for those out there who are just like me, I guess. Step-by-step system for your phrase book. Alright, let's get practical. How do you turn a blank notebook into this powerful tool? It's a 3-step process: input, capture, and activation. Step 1. Find your phrases. Input. So first thing first, you get your input from somewhere, and this can be anything. Your favorite show, a podcast, a book, or even conversation you overhear. For example, here I'm using this short reading practice text from Easy Italian. The link is in the description.
La parola bar non è di origine. I clienti spesso restano in piedi davanti al bancone che ha più tempo libero a disposizione. Si può sedere intorno al tavolino e fare 4 chiacchiere con gli amici.
The key is to be selective. Don't try to write down everything you don't know. You are looking for phrases that are super common or personally useful to you. Ask yourself, can I see myself actually saying this? Is this an answer to a question I get asked a lot? This text is entitled Il bar italiano. The sentence, Stare 4 chiacchiere con gli amici. Okay, that phrase is gold. Complete sentence that you can immediately steal and adapt. That's what you capture. Step 2. Record your phrases. Capture. Now that we have our golden phrase, we need to get it into our phrase notebook. First, I write the full phrase at the top. Below it, I write the translation in case I need it to understand, but not a word for word translation, of course. Instead, I write what it actually means in that situation. This phrase we have, for example, means chit-chatting with friends, so I underline the key vocab of the sentence. The next part is the secret sauce, the context. Where did you hear it? Who said it? Was it formal or casual? Or details of the store. Here I write between parentheses casual. I think that's what I need in this case. Now, write your own sentence using the new words if you want to take the game to the next level, of course. If this allows you to think of where you can actually put it in use. Step 3. Activate your phrases. Recall and use. This last step is what makes the notebook work. A notebook is useless if you don't look at it, but just rereading your notes isn't enough. You have to use active recall, which just means you actively pull the information out of your memory. You can use a simple spaced repetition system, which means you review new things more often than old things. When you review a phrase and get it right, put a check mark next to it. A new phrase might need a review every day for a few days. Once you know it, well, you only need to look at it once a week, and then maybe once a month. This process moves phrases from your short-term memory into your long-term, ready-to-use memory, and you can do this easily using those famous spaced repetition apps and platforms, but I don't think I'm the type to use them, so I just read my phrases from time to time and try to use them writing anything on my notes app, for example, or using them when talking to myself during the day. Sounds crazy, I know, but that's what I do to practice speaking usually, because we know the ultimate goal is to use the phrase. Give yourself a small goal. For example, this week I'm going to use 3 new phrases. You can use them in a text to a language partner, in a journal, or even just talking to yourself like me. Using the phrase in a real situation is what closes the gap between knowing something and owning it. Section 4. Why this works for your brain. So why is this phrase-based system so much better? It's because it works with how your brain is built to learn a language, not against it. First, as we talked about, it uses chunking. When you learn "sepa" as one thing instead of 3 separate words, you reduce your brain's workload. It can grab the whole chunk instantly, which is the secret to speaking more smoothly and with less pausing. Second, you learn grammar without headaches. When you learn the phrase "j'ai besoin de," which means I need, you naturally learn that besoin is followed by de. You don't need to memorize a rule from charts. You're just absorbing the pattern through real examples. This is how we all learned our first language. Finally, by grabbing phrases from real content, you learn which words just sound right together. Collocations. For example, you learn that in English we make mistake, not do a mistake. This is what makes your speech sound natural and less like it was translated by a robot. This whole system bridges the gap from knowing about the language, grammar, vocab, etc. to actually being able to use it. The system is simple. First, find phrases that are relevant to you and content you actually enjoy. Second, capture those phrases with their real meaning and, most importantly, their context. And third, activate them by actually using them in real life. Your notebook isn't the problem. Your old method was holding you back. But with this one shift, you can turn that simple book into a powerful tool that works with your brain, not against it. Remember to take every piece of advice with a pinch of salt and make this method yours. At the end, here's your homework. Go grab your old notebook or new one if you want, like why not? And write down your first phrase today. Let me know in the comments below what languages you're learning and what is the first phrase you are going to add to your new phrase notebook. I'd love to see what useful chunks of language you're starting with. And if this video gave you a new way to think about language learning, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more videos to learn how to learn a language, and follow me on my own language learning journey. Keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.